Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Right now we're in the GAN Race Survival series, and we have, Team Terran for Korea coming back here. It's going to be Scan. You know him, you love him, he's fantastic. Going up against ZhanHun, the strongest Protoss player from China. So, Scan here, obviously, you know, the Korean players are favored in these matches, but again, best of one against a Protoss player as strong and as cheesy as ZhanHun. Definitely, you could see this possibly going his way. We'll see. The map is Vermeer. Vermeer going to be a pretty good map for this to come out on. Like, not a big surprise that this is the map that Team Terran chose here. You know, Vermeer is like just a pretty darn fair map. A lot easier than other maps for Terran to push around and actually kill bases if we do go into a bigger macro game. But as is, we're right at the beginning, and it's going to take a minute for anything to really get underway. So I do want to thank you guys for coming down to ArtosisCasts. Appreciate it. And please make sure you subscribe. You know, a lot of great tournaments going on, and hope you enjoy the variety of content as well. We are going to have, you know, a new Star League starting soon, and I'll be casting all of that as well, but hope you enjoy some of these different matches in between. I always am personally, excuse me, sorry, I still have a little bit of a cough. I'm trying to mute when I do it, but I personally really like the race survival format. It's one of my favorite things to watch. Like, I watch KCM every single week. You know, I just like seeing the variety of matchups. And like the little snipe builds where it's like, oh, okay, well, now we got a map that's going to be maybe favored towards me, and I'm going to come in as a player that's going to be good against your style, that type of thing. I think it gives like a good variety, a really good variety of games overall. Now, Probe coming out to scout there for ZhanHun. He is making a Zealot at home as well. Looks like Scan going for a factory expansion here. He is going to go ahead and scout. His scout is coming out actually rather late. And that is probably just so that he can get down the factory as quickly as is possible. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, I guess he's just going to straight up expand because he's going to have to decide about that third depot before this SCV can check here and here. So normally when you do a factory expansion, you would basically choose you would scout both close spawns before you have to choose if you need a third depot. And yeah, you see he's actually not doing the end scout, and instead he's just going to scout around the map. And when you scout around the map like this, you can either straight up go third depot, or you can just go for a fast expansion. So I know that might sound a little bit confusing, everything that I just said there. By the way, he is hiding a Zealot in the middle, which can be impactful. It won't be this time. But basically, you're looking out for the possibility of your opponent going for like a Nexus first, right? That's what I'm talking about. Here, if there was a Nexus first in top left, Scan has no opportunity to punish. So, down comes Probe, Zealot, and Dragoon. So that does beat this. Ooh, especially with that first volley right there. He's going to pull SCVs to help. This is a very close battle, very micro-intensive. And the Zealot is actually getting too much damage done. He did not block that quite well enough. The double repair, I believe you actually need 3 SCVs to repair through 1 Dragoon firing on a Vulture. Yeah, picks that off. This is terrible for Scan right now. This is absolutely terrible. Oh my god. This is like a really big deal, actually. The Dragoon getting a lot of damage. He's going to have to make a siege tank, but the siege tank going to take another 32 seconds to make. So, like, he hasn't even started it yet. He should. Yeah, there you go. He gets it started. He's got some SCVs down fighting. This is not enough against 2 Dragoons, unfortunately. He desperately wants a Marine in that bunker, and he's not going to be able to get it. This is bad, bad, bad news right now for Scan. Like, he was trying to do kind of a more economic opener and didn't get the scout as quickly as you would like. On ZhanHun's base, and just was not quite ready and didn't micro quite well enough. You know, the 2 SCVs, 3 Marines, 1 Vulture, I think technically can beat what ZhanHun brought, but as soon as Zealot gets past and gets those extra hits, the game can look like this. So This is a huge advantage, okay? Do not get me wrong here. This is a big advantage for ZhanHun. Now, it's not necessarily game over, but let's take a look, right? 4 SCVs behind for Scan. That's a pretty big deal. Nexus almost done. Command Center just over halfway. Obviously, the Command Center would be lined up much more closely if this hadn't occurred. He wouldn't have lost so many SCVs. He lost a ton of mining time as well. So it is an issue. Now, looking over here, this looks like it's going to turn into a Dark Templar drop. And that could be deadly. You never know. Sometimes a DT drop can just kill your opponent, especially when they get behind like this. Like, you don't want to just go for completely normal, you know, play as Terran. Like, if you just try to go, like, your 3 turrets and, you know, get into your armory and everything, sometimes you're going to feel like you're too far behind to do that. Now, here he's actually gone up to 6 Marines. And he's going to have 3 tanks plus Vulture with mines. So it looks like Scan's idea here is to do a little bit of a counter push because there were units lost from ZhanHun, right? He lost like a Zealot and a Dragoon or 2. So Scan with a consistent production wants to be able to maybe pick up some damage with an early push. Now, he's going to lay mines, and he might be able to push Dragoons back into those mines. Now, here comes... the additional tank. He's laid 2 mines where ZhanHun may run through. This could be gigantic. Okay, blocks it off right there. There are 2 Dark Templars on the way. Scan right now. No E-base started yet, so that's an issue, right? Like, he's going to need to get that up immediately. Hopefully, for his sake, ZhanHun has to defend with the Dark Templars. Okay, I didn't actually see exactly what happened there, but I was talking during it. I wasn't registering, but he literally walked past all the mines. A little bit unfortunate there for Scan. No mines trigger. So he gets his Dragoons back into a better defensive position. Still, Scan has the better army, but here's the DT. Now, with that DT, he can just walk out. He might drag mines with it. That would probably be the best move. And Scan sees. This is very bad. Another DT being ferried over. He's going to start his engineering bay. He's going to lay a bunch of mines, and he's going to hope there's no drop coming in. All right, ends up losing one of the tanks and some of the other units as well. ZhanHun coming out to micro against this. The big problem, as I see it, ooh, good mine hit right there, is this one DT being dropped off into the main base of Scan. Scan trying to get a push to go here against ZhanHun. And he's picking off a little bit, but that DT in the main base, man, that could end up being a game ender. With the engineering bay not even done yet, cleaning this up and not doing any economic damage to your opponent, it's going to be too costly. It is going to be too costly. You're making a turret down at the natural expand. The DT does turn around, which I think is smart. You should probably just keep it in the main base. You're not entirely sure what's down in the natural right now. There could be mines or things like that. And he's just going to be able to pick off a lot. Academy gets started as well as Armory. So he's going to try to make some sort of comeback in that regard. Obviously, the Academy is going to be needed. He's laid some very good mines here. Kind of surprised that ZhanHun isn't paying a little bit more attention to this. I feel like he can eke out a lot more damage. Like, just, yeah, exactly. Bring it up over the mines, drop it into the mineral line. Look at this. Right clicks on the turrets. Dude, this is a ton of damage. He's down 8 workers at the moment. Look at this. ZhanHun running in. There's nothing in the bunker. He knows it. He kills off the tank. He kills off the turret. And this game is just... everything's on fire for Scan right now. Look at this. Does the SCV drill to try to save his siege tank. Unfortunately, one goon did make it up the ramp and is able to finish that tank off. Not even any mines to lay. Look at this. Loses the turret that was being made there. The DT still in the mineral line. I think we're going to see Scan GG. Like, there's not a lot left here. He's down 17 workers. ZhanHun taking a 3rd base. Adding another gateway. A shield battery. I don't think that's on purpose. I don't know why you would have a shield battery in the middle of your base. I'm not sure what he was trying to make. Maybe a support bay? No, he has a support bay there. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, he cancels. But it doesn't really matter, right? Like, little mistakes like that can be made at this point. You've got twice workers. Finally kills that DT that's in his main base. And ZhanHun gonna pick up another win against Team Korea. Seriously, Flash himself wouldn't even come close to coming back this game. He'd be 100% dead against ZhanHun every game. 100 out of 100 times. So yeah, it's Scan looks like he wants to try to fight back somehow. This has to be kind of shocking for the Korean Terran team, because so far this is going to be their second eliminated player. No map wins. And map wins don't matter as much. It's like you have to, basically the last race left alive is who wins. But yeah, he's not going to be able to take this, and he's not going to be able to even probably block this incoming attack. We'll see. Oh, drops a Reaver in there as well. Ooh, not the greatest micro on the Reaver there for a minute. Oh, good mine. But this is too much. GG, ZhanHun takes down Scan. Okay, so jumping into our next game here. ZhanHun, of course, back at it, going for, as you can see, the gateway into Scout. He's going up against Kid this time. Another very strong Chinese Zerg player. Definitely top 5, I would say. China actually has a pretty deep Zerg lineup, so actually maybe I could even be slightly wrong on that. You know, people that aren't even in this little match, which already has some of their very best with Kid, Jedi, and Doogu. I mean, there's Xiao Shui, there's Fang Ji, right? There's quite a few very strong Zergs. Kai Kai, I believe, is also a very good Zerg. But yeah, anyways, it is a pool first going up against the Gateway expansion of ZhanHun. The map here is Polypoid, an old favorite of very many. ZhanHun going to find him a little bit late, but going to get there in time to see what the build order is. And wow, what is this? What is Kid doing here? Interesting. Look at that. Okay, so third base location being utilized as the first expansion. That's with a pool first build. So we might get some big confusion here from ZhanHun. Probe goes out in front. Okay, the drone coming down. I think you probably are a little bit confused. You're like, wait, are there already lings out? Like, why is there no hatchery? That type of thing. The hatchery will get started. And the Zealot, I guess, is just going to march towards the main base. It just walked around here to avoid the Zerglings as they were running back. Keeps a Zealot and a Probe over here on the ramp. This one's going to want to just drill straight up. And you got to do two things here. Stop these from killing anything and stop them from going up the ramp. And he's going to be doing that while trying to micro the Zealot around a little bit in this main base of Kid. Kid going to be caught off guard. He actually had no lings at home, no lings being produced. So this Zealot is actually doing some serious work. Even if it doesn't get kills, like, look at the amount of lost mining time that we're having right now. It's really, really significant. The Zealot absolutely paying for itself, I would say, in this situation. In fact, these lings just turn around and start to go. And he even got a drone. So that Zealot doing an unbelievable amount for ZhanHun. Now, that is not a lead that you look at and you're like, well, this game's over or something like that, right? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But that was a very good opening Zealot from ZhanHun against someone who's gone for a pool first. You're definitely not supposed to take that type of damage from that first Zealot. Now, second Zealot up at that third base location, which was the first hatch that was made. I mean, again, a kind of a weird thing from Kid, but, you know, ZhanHun now knows about it. 2 lings at a time going against this Zealot, so he'll eliminate it about as best he can. A little bit of a mistake there. You definitely want to make sure 2 are attacking at all times. But yeah, another Zealot coming in as well. Look at this. ZhanHun just non-stop, man. Look at this. Third Zealot going into the main, and then 2 more as this one's, they're like stifled a bit, right? Like this one goes in the main, and then the 2 come up behind just in time so that the lings that come down to defend against this won't be there to defend against these 2. ZhanHun really has great control of this game right now. Like, he is definitely dictating what is occurring. Forces these 2 drones to run away as well. This is very, very tough for Kid, I have to say. Some good micro from ZhanHun as well. Follows down to this natural. Now, there are a lot of lings being made, so his Zealots do start to pull back a little bit. Zergling's speed is on the way. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be super surprised if we see some sort of aggressive play coming out from Kid. Now, look at ZhanHun. Oh my god, I love what he's chosen to do here, right? So he's pulling his Zealots back, which is very important against the amount of Zerglings that we have on the map. But he's also getting +1 and a Citadel instead of the Stargate. So I mean, the Stargate does some really great scouting and obviously can kill overlords and defense against mutas. But if your opponent is sitting there on Hive Tech for this long, going into something like a 4-gate speed lot +1 build would be amazing, right? Like you're gonna overpower. And I think that ZhanHun has gotten enough intel here that he feels pretty confident about this move. And in fact, look at that. This is old school right here. +1 carapace coming up for Kid. That's fascinating. Wow. Okay, so, like, Kid, a bit of an old school player. This is something I haven't seen in a very long time. Once upon a time, Zergs would very oftentimes get a very quick +1 carapace so that their Zerglings would do a better job of fighting against the +1 Zealots, because if you get the +1 carapace, it nullifies the +1 for the Zealots, and then the Zealots are back to 3 hitting the Zerglings as opposed to 2. Right? So the +1 carapace was very popular for a bit, but it did end up falling off as Lings became like less of the defense and it became more and more Hydra based. But yeah, that's fascinating to see here, and that might actually end up working out very well, but it is slower, right? This is an important thing. See how far along that is? Yeah, we're going to have a window in there where the Zealots are absolutely going to smash. So can he live through that and still utilize the Zerglings for strong defensive purposes? That's kind of the question we're going to be looking at. Now, Legs is almost done. +1, going to be a little bit slower than that. ZhanHun getting ready to move out. Another Zealot popping as well. You're going to have to start getting some real defense here as Kid. So he has a good Sim City being set up, right? Double sunken looks like it's going to be... well, actually, that's a Spore right there. Okay, so he's actually ready for Corsairs even, which are not coming. But has that Hydralisk Den being made. Honestly, like, I think ZhanHun has caught him off guard. Like, he thought this was going to be a more normal play from ZhanHun, but ZhanHun has completely skipped the Stargate. So even that Spore, a bit of a waste. Now, good drone drill there really does screw up the Zealots quite a bit. The Sunken is going to be able to finish, but more and more Zealots pile up here. Starts another one, but gonna have to run these drones lest he lose them immediately. This creep colony not going to ever turn into a full Sunken from here either. And the +1 carapace is not yet done, so that is a big issue. +1 is done for these Zealots, so they are going to do fantastically against Zerglings. It feels like everything just slightly off here for Kid. ZhanHun definitely in control, definitely doing a fantastic job with this pressure. Look at the difference in workers. 26 against 50. That's what high-quality Protoss pressure can do to you. I mean, Zerg, they have to choose, are we making drones or are we making units? And the amount of units forced out by the consistent Zealot presses have been pretty magnificent, I would say. So this hatchery is definitely going to be going down. We do have a Spire coming up, so there is some comeback potential with that. By the way, +1 carapace is done, so he can fight a little bit better at this point. But honestly, I don't know if he'll even save this hatchery. Maybe. Now that he is 3-hitting with these Zealots, it looks like the Zealots, yeah, they're going to run back to get a better area as far as surface area goes. And that'll help them to trade a little bit better. 2 more Zealots come up. Looks like he does want to try to overwhelm these Zerglings. If he does overwhelm them at all, that hatchery will end up falling. Well, the more Zealots coming up. Yeah, this is not looking super hot. So really right now what I'm looking at is Kid's biggest chance is the Mutalisks. Can he get something done with Mutas because there is no Stargate? This hatchery goes down. Kid has to run away. Look at this. There's even a Zealot on the ramp. He's trying to kill it off before getting out, but maybe a mistake there as well. A lot of Sunkens in the natural, so probably won't be killed by these Zealots. Let's see what his Mutas can do. Back at home for ZhanHun, he is making a few cannons. He has some High Templars coming out. There is a possibility he'll want Archons off those. That can be a solid defense against Mutas if you can get the Archon into the right position. Robo going up, another cannon. All right, let's see what Kid can do. Like again, this is some comeback potential. All right, 5 Mutas fly in. That cannon finishing kind of just in the nick of time here. He can pick off a single cannon with 6 Mutas. It is possible this one would start shooting as well. Might have to do some micro against that. Archon coming back. Second Archon being made. Zealots trying to poke into these Sunks. Dragoons coming out for ZhanHun. Okay, so he's really focusing now on things that shoot up. Very minimal as far as cannons go. I do feel like most high-level Protoss players would make a lot of cannons here. I feel like I've seen DeWalt in positions like this before, and he'd make almost twice as many cannons as what we see for ZhanHun. But honestly, like, ZhanHun, so far, the defense has been pretty solid. Now, the cannon is coming up here. Dragoons and Archon's going to come over here and try to chase away Kid's Mutas. But a decent amount of probes are being picked off. It's not enough to equalize in any way, of course. 26 to 53 at the moment. And now we're getting up into the area where we're getting a critical mass for ZhanHun that is absolutely scary. Might be overwhelming, in fact. So, yeah, I'm looking at this, the amount of Dragoons, like, the Dragoons, when you have a position like this that's super turtled, a lot of times what they'll do is stand on the edge and kill everything in the way, right? So the Hydral's Den, the Hatchery can both be picked off. And then when it's more open, the Zealots can come in and kind of lead the charge and tank the damage. I feel like that's what we're going to see. I don't know if that's going to be holdable, but there is a Lurker upgrade on the way. So if Kid gets a decent amount of Lurkers, he technically can live through that. But let's not forget, he doesn't have a third base. If he had a third base, well, that's 3 gases. That's more mineral patches. You can kind of get your army together a little bit more with that. Whereas ZhanHun is going to have that third base. So, honestly, again, it's hard to say whether he's going to have enough to not only hold off everything, but re-secure a third base. Look at this. Tries to take a third. DT is there, ready to go. Even kills off the drone as it tries to run. Has to cancel that hatch. Lurkers being morphed. Hydralisk range on the way as well. So definitely a big reversal here into Hydra Lurker rather than Mutas any longer. The Mutas, though, still getting some damage done. He definitely is getting value out of them. Right, even some of these glaives hitting off. We'll see if he can kill off a few more probes like that. Zergling's kind of checking in, poking in there. By the way, 1-1 upgrades right now, and we didn't get any additional upgrades, which it's not surprising from Kid that he's not getting any additional upgrades for his units, right? Like, when you're this kind of difficult position, this far behind, getting +1 isn't going to be what makes the difference. Whereas for ZhanHun, I mean, he's going to make a lot of units. He has 2 forges going. He's got 2 1 upgrades, so now the carapace doesn't really do anything. Very, very tough here for Kid, who runs in. It looks like we're going to have a gigantic kind of all-in at the natural here. Not a bad choice. Sets his lurkers up. Double Observer is here. Nothing to pick them off. No Overlord. So it looks like everything should get surrounded, and I think this is going to be it. Yeah, GG is called, and ZhanHun wins another one.